Hi there, it's Marina here of Lead Yourself. A huge welcome to this online class. I'm just really delighted to be able to give you this class, which is on how to overcome stress or anxiety so that it never affects you again and achieve vibrant happiness and well-being instead. So I'm just really honoured that you're here. Thank you and congratulations on being here. So in this class today, I'm going to show you 3 really powerful ways to overcome anxiety and start to move towards a life that you really love, where you just can't wait to wake up each morning and enjoy being alive. So I'm going to get started straight away. I want you to get lots of value from this online class. So do pay attention, take notes if you can. And then later on, I've got a way where I can answer all your questions for free as well. So stay tuned for that. I want you to be able to walk away from this online class with some really great tools that you can start to use and implement straight away and get results immediately. So, can I ask you a question? What if you could, really wake up every morning actually looking forward to the day ahead? Or would you love to have the space, freedom and peace of mind to really enjoy every minute of your life? And by that I mean a feeling of peace inside or inner space perhaps, where you're free of that incessant mental chatter or the worried thoughts and fearful niggles. Well, guess what? You're in the right place. So who is this for? Have you felt stressed or anxious for more than a few months? Or perhaps you worry about things that could happen but are rather unlikely, such as, what if I lose my job and can't get another one? I'll be homeless. Or I might become an alcoholic even though I don't really drink much. Do you find your life is limited by fear or worries, such that they really interfere with you doing things that you would like to do? Or do you find yourself having uncomfortable or fearful thoughts and feelings and you just want to regain control of your mind or your mental and emotional well-being? So who this is not for? Well, stress and anxiety are perfectly normal in some situations. So you might get very stressed or anxious at work maybe, but then you wind down in the evening or at the weekend. And in that case, anxiety per se may not be a problem for you, and you may not need to focus on overcoming it right now. If you're experiencing or have recently experienced a stressful life event, such as the breakup of a relationship, bereavement, money problems, redundancy, or something else, these things can cause stress, and it can be quite normal to feel stressed for a few months afterwards. But as the incoming stress fades, the feelings of stress and anxiety often fade on their own as well. So if that's still quite fresh for you, then the stress may go away with time. And you can always come back later if you need to. Anxiety is usually considered a problem if it's been ongoing for 5 or 6 months or longer. Finally, if you're convinced your anxiety is outside your control and you want someone to say, "Oh, poor you," someone who understands how awful it is for you. Now look, nice as this may be sometimes, it won't help you put anxiety in the past and just live a great life. And that's what is possible, and that's what I want for you. So I want to be really straightforward here. This isn't a bit of counselling to make you feel a bit better. This is giving you the tools you need to overcome this for good, move on, and live a life where fear doesn't hold you back anymore. So why am I doing this? Well, I'm looking for like-minded individuals who want to take their well-being into their own hands and move forward into a completely new place, What determines your results in any area of life is how much effort you put in. You don't have to know how to do it. You just need to be committed for yourself. Live a life of their own design, and that way you get to say how your life goes. You take back control. Achieve peace of mind for the rest of your life. And get back the zest and enjoyment and the fun of life. And just enjoy life more than you ever thought possible. Is that you? We will see. So in the next 45 minutes, I'm going to show you 3 really powerful things that will be very useful to you in overcoming anxiety and in creating a life that really excites you. A life that makes you eager to get up every day and get on with living it, because it's just great to be alive. So the first lesson is all about what anxiety or stress is really caused by. So if you think your anxiety comes from all the problems you have in life, then this will be a real eye-opener for you. And we'll also cover a technique you can use straight away to reduce how quickly you calm down and relax. So I'm sure you'll get a lot of value out of that one, and maybe a few surprises too. The second lesson focuses on something you've probably been doing for years, possibly your whole life, whether you're aware of it or not, that is actually making your anxiety worse. Or it may even be the original cause of your anxiety. And then I'll show you how to turn that around. Then the third part will cover a way to reduce your anxiety in both the short and long term. And it's something that's so simple, so easy, and yet so key to overcoming your anxiety, you've probably been overlooking it all this time. So this is really important and fundamental, yet such a simple lesson I'll be teaching. So it's taken me around 16 years to be here with you today. I started in 2001 mentoring young people who had kind of lost their way either at school or after they left school, helping them build confidence and overcome blockages in their lives. After that, I spent about 5 years working with community groups, coaching, training, upskilling, and building up their ability to accomplish things in their community. Then, since 2013, I've coached and trained people in overcoming stress, anxiety, and depression. This was following my own mental health journey in 2009 and 10 and 11. So in 2009, January, I had 3 stressful events all at once. The end of a long-term relationship, a change of job, and moving house. And I didn't just move house, I actually moved across the country to a completely different part of the country where I didn't even know one person. So you can imagine it was quite a roller coaster. Now, as you'll see, people can begin to suffer from mental health problems in many ways. One way is by stressful life events, such as those things. The anxiety sometimes goes away on its own when the outside stress stops, but not always, and that's what happened with me. So my mental well-being and mood went downhill and continued to get steadily worse for about 2 years or more. What that time was like would probably take me days to recount, but very briefly, my life was literally run by anxious, depressed or angry thoughts, all day, every day. Inside my mind was a constant whirlwind of self-criticism, paranoid thoughts, worries, fears, resentment, regret, loneliness and self-hatred. It really wasn't nice. It wasn't nice to be me at that time. So you can imagine turning myself around was a real challenge as I had let myself get so bad. I didn't realize I had control over I didn't realize that I had control over my feelings and well-being all along. But what I learned from this was that at any point a person can say, enough is enough, and make the decision to make a change. And the decision is actually the hardest part. That's the real turning point. Once that decision is made, it gets much easier. And that's why I decided to make my life about showing others that it's possible for them too. Because I discovered it was when I took responsibility for my own mental and emotional well-being that I began to feel better. So the limitations in the current system, which is in no way a criticism, by the way. Doctors are trained in physical illness, aren't they? So they will often use drugs, which is a physical treatment for mental or emotional difficulties. Drugs do work. They just don't often tackle the root cause of the problem. This can lead to long-term drug use, which is now becoming a real problem in the Western world. So since that time, I trained in quite a few different treatment methods in order to really serve individuals. So with all of that background, I'm well placed to be offering you this session. However, I'm not a doctor or medical professional, and I don't recommend any particular course of action or tell you what to do. I work with you to build up your ability to cope with whatever comes your way, which makes anxiety redundant, really, so it will disappear from your life. But we will come to that later in the webinar. So there is nothing for sale today, and you're not buying anything here. This is an online class, and I want to deliver some great content for you. Then at the end, I have a very special gift for you that will get all of your questions answered for free. Okay? Now I'm keeping that gift to the end because I don't want people who are just going to come on for a couple of minutes and then think, I'll go and watch some TV or whatever. Of course, you're welcome to go do that. But that's not the sort of people that I want to reach. I want people who are committed and say, I'm going to take my life in a different direction. So if you're happy to hang on till the end of this short online class, then I've got a gift. And it's worth £120, and it will be my gift to you. So are you doing things the hard way? Do you worry about what people think of you? Are you sometimes beset by thoughts and worries you seem to have no control over? Do you find it hard to relax or be inactive? Does it interfere with your sleep? Do you doubt yourself or doubt your decisions? It doesn't have to be this way. So let me tell you about the easier way, where you have peace of mind, where you are able to relax completely. You can deal confidently with whatever comes up. You can trust yourself and trust your decisions, moving forward in areas where you feel stuck, and feeling positive about your life. Now, results. They're not typical, okay? What I'm going to show you are not typical. I don't know you, how motivated you are, or how well you can implement what I teach. Most people don't even get around to doing what I teach. That's the truth. It's just what human nature is, right? This isn't the easiest option. So any results that I talk about in this presentation are not typical. It takes effort, persistence, patience. You know this, right? With anything in life, there's always a chance of things not working out. So let me make it really clear, okay? Remember when I said what made the difference for me was taking control of my well-being? Well, that is exactly what will determine your results too. So I'm in no way promising as to what you will get out of what I do or what I'm teaching you here. I can only show you what I've done, what I'm doing, what my students have done, and their results are proof that this system works. But from your point of view, you've got to make it work for you. I'm not here to do miracles on people who aren't interested. So now for lesson 1. The real reason why your mind keeps chewing over problems which robs you of peace of mind, and what you can do about it. So first, I want to give you something really important. It will really open up why we worry, why we can't drag our minds away from things sometimes. And then I'll show you what you can do to stop that cycle. Because I really want you to know that if you have anxiety in any form, there really is nothing wrong with you. Your brain is actually working very well. It's all in the training. So for this one, I want to get into where anxiety and stress come from. Why do we get anxious in the first place? So now we're going to look behind the scenes at stress and anxiety. I'll start with a story. It was a hot August day in 1963, and Martin Luther King gave a historic speech which has gone down in history as one of the most important speeches ever made. That was in Washington. On the same day in New York, over 200 miles away, Richard Robles, a longtime burglar, was busy breaking into an apartment on the swanky Upper East Side of New York. The apartment was the home of two career girls in their early 20s, Janice Wiley, editor of Newsweek magazine, and Emily Hoffert, a schoolteacher. Robles was already on parole, and as he claimed years later, he was determined to go straight and stay out of prison. But just at the minute he needed some money to provide for his girlfriend and their 3-year-old daughter. However, he was surprised because Janice Wiley was at home. So he threatened her with a knife and tied her up. Then, just as he was leaving, Emily Hoffert also came in. So he tied her up too. As he told the story years later, Janice Wiley warned him he would never get away with it. She would remember his face and make sure the police found him. At this he panicked and just lost control. He mustn't go back to prison. In a frenzy, he clubbed both girls unconscious with a pop bottle and then stabbed them repeatedly. Looking back at this moment 25 years later, he said, "I just went bananas. My head exploded." Losing control is a common enough scenario, although rarely does it have such tragic results. Now, at first glance, this doesn't appear to have much to do with anxiety, but what happened in Richard Robles' brain is an example of something that happens to all of us quite regularly, though of course hardly ever with such dramatic or tragic results. So what happened? Well, what happened is a part of Richard Robles' brain got set off and declared an emergency. Now, research has shown that anxiety is not genetic. No one is actually born already anxious. But what we do have from birth is a brain that developed millions of years ago to keep us alive when the world was a dangerous jungle, when many animals were hunting humans for food. Now, the human brain is not just one brain, actually. Our brain developed over hundreds of thousands of years, and actually at least 3 different brains stacked on top of each other. So, at the top, the neocortex is the most recent or the newest part of our brain. It houses our personality and is the logical, thinking or intelligent part of the brain. But the most powerful part of the human brain is actually the emotional brain, which developed much, much earlier, and it's also known as our animal brain, because we share this brain with most other animals. It literally is pretty much the same. Now, this emotional brain is very powerful and can take the whole brain over completely in emergencies. That's because its main job is to keep us alive in the jungle. So, in an emergency, such as we come face to face with a hungry tiger in the jungle, the emotional brain takes over the whole brain and the body and reacts instantaneously. It fills our body with adrenaline and gathers all our energy, 100% of our energy, into our muscles, so we are ready to run or fight the danger. To save time, it bypasses the thinking of the brain completely. After all, assessing and analysing and judging the danger would take far too long, and it would mean death in the jungle. So our thinking brain, the neocortex, stops working temporarily, so we literally can't think clearly till the panic subsides. Have you noticed how when you're really anxious, scared or angry, you just can't think straight? Well, no one can in that state. So you see the problem. Our automatic reactions are completely inappropriate in today's world. We react to every debt letter or every parking warden like it's a saber-toothed tiger, and we get in a panic. This is anxiety, the emergency state. And until our logical brain can kick back in, we can't tell there's actually no real danger. And our logical brain can't kick in when we're in the panic state. So the story of the Career Girl murders, which was all over the news in 1963, is just a very graphic and extreme example of how the emotional brain proclaims an emergency and takes over the rest of the brain before the neocortex, the thinking brain, can even glimpse what's happening, let alone decide if it's a good idea or not. And this is what everyone's brain does quite regularly. It can and does happen with all strong emotions. Rage, fear, anxiety can even happen also with incredibly intense joy, such as the time in 1994 when Dan Jansen finally won the Olympic gold medal for speed skating. At this point, he had already suffered several heartbreaking failures and had vowed to win the gold for his dying sister. His wife was so overcome with the excitement and happiness that she had to be rushed to emergency physicians at the rinkside. So, how can this story apply to your situation or your life? And how can you use this to help you? Well, you can see that we've trained our brains by responding immediately to anxious feelings. Our brain actually mistook a parking ticket for a hungry lion. So the anxiety response, the fight, flight, freeze response, is actually inappropriate. A mistake. A simple mistake. And instead of the thinking brain, the neocortex, stepping in and saying, hold on, there's no real life-threatening danger here, we have bought into the idea that there is real life-threatening danger, rather than just the emotional brain's error of judgment, which is actually what it is. We tend to have this idea that whatever goes on inside my head is the truth just because I think it, when actually most of what goes on in your head is just hand-me-down ideas you picked up when you were a child. Many scientific studies have shown that most of what we think is not true at all. And this includes believing that almost nothing we're likely to encounter on a daily basis will require us to run away, fight, or freeze. And that's really all the anxiety response is for. Just a great big mistake. So you can untrain and retrain your brain in the same way that they originally got trained, by seeing the anxiety is based on a mistake and a trigger-happy animal brain. Don't buy into it. So, what to do instead? Instead of responding to anxiety the way you did before, firstly, take a deep breath and remind yourself that this is just learned behavior and an automatic animal response, and will only keep you stuck in anxiety. You can solve the problem much more effectively when you're calm. Take a few deep breaths if you need to. Allow yourself to calm down for a minute, which will enable your rational thinking brain to kick in. Secondly, tell yourself it's okay to take a few minutes and to breathe deeply, untense your body, and let your heart rate slow a little. Treat yourself with kindness and compassion until you start to feel calmer. And finally, treat yourself like a frightened animal, because when your animal brain has taken over, that really is what you are. And how do you deal with a frightened animal? By being very, very gentle. You can't just tick off an animal for being frightened. You talk soothingly. You say things like, "It's okay, you're quite safe, everything is all right." At first, your animal brain will keep trying to go back to the problem and worry about it and chew on it, whatever it is, and telling you you must give it your immediate attention. But it's only doing what it's always done, and this time you can refuse to obey it. After all, it's the animal and you're the human, so be firm with it. Make a rule for yourself not to think about problems or try to solve anything while you're feeling in an anxious state or a panic state. And your animal brain will eventually get the message. You might have to be firm with yourself for a bit, but like any animal, your animal brain can be trained and it will learn. This will also build your self-esteem, self-efficacy, and you will get the confidence to start living life to the full without fear and self-doubt holding you back. So now for lesson 2. For this, I want to cover something that you're probably doing right now, and probably something you've been doing for years that you may not even be aware of. But it is actually making your anxiety worse. And it's so natural to do this, we often do it without ever realizing. Do you undermine yourself? Because this is very, very common. So, do any of these apply to you? Do you feel guilty or blame yourself a lot? Do you find you can't forgive yourself for something you did in the past? You judge yourself for being an awful person or a bad person? Do you doubt yourself and your ability? Or do you just have a low opinion of yourself generally? Perhaps not really trust yourself to do well? Do you beat yourself up a lot? Or maybe you just forget to praise yourself when you do well, or find it difficult to accept praise from others. I had the whole lot. I felt guilty a lot, even when I did nothing wrong. I was always ticking myself off and beating myself up. I thought I was a terrible person for things I had done in the past, and I just couldn't forgive myself. I was sure I was fairly useless at most things. I just didn't like or approve of myself. But I hadn't actually realized these were just my opinions about myself. For me, that was the truth. These opinions got worse during that dark period I mentioned earlier, and that's when I really saw how horrible I was to myself. But looking back now, I see it was just a big increase of what had always been there, but I just hadn't been aware of it. So if you have opinions like these about yourself, it really impacts you, especially your mood and overall happiness, whether you realize it or not. We think the way we speak to ourselves doesn't matter, but it really does. So, our brain is rather like a computer. The mind is a computer. Everything it's told goes in and programs it. In fact, for your entire life, you've been programming and reprogramming your computer brain. And how are you doing this? Through the way you talk to yourself. That's the main source. Every thought you think, every word you say to yourself or to others, your brain takes as fact. You make a mistake and tell yourself, "Oh, how stupid I am." Your brain takes it on board as the absolute truth. Have you heard of GIGO? Do you know what it stands for? Garbage in, garbage out. And what does that mean? Well, The way you talk to yourself dictates your results in life. Everything you tell yourself is like programming your computer, and then it spits it back out at you in the quality of your performance. So the quality of your results in life can't possibly be better than the quality of the information that you feed into your computer brain. So, if you tick yourself off all the time and tell yourself you're no good or you're stupid or you can't do it, then just as night follows day, that's the results that you'll get out of life. The results of someone who's no good and who can't do it. And this was me. I put garbage in and I got garbage out in terms of my performance. I was convinced I was useless at my job, and so guess what? I started making quite elementary mistakes, overlooking things, forgetting things. And the more I told myself off for these things, the more that these things happened. And so the more I hated myself and judged myself for it. It really was a vicious circle. I also became very self-conscious, worried about what people were thinking of me, and I was quite sure they were judging me. So, think of the most successful people that you know. They don't speak to themselves that way, do they? When they do well, they pat themselves on the back and they praise themselves. But I hear you say, well, that's perfectly right. Success earns praise. Success deserves praise, and failure deserves punishment. That seems to be the way the world works, right? Actually, nope, not at all. So, here's a secret about successful people. Are you ready? They praise themselves all the time. They don't wait till after they've achieved something to do that. The praise comes first. And when I say praise, what I mean is they think well of themselves before they even get out of bed, before they even try and do anything. So they don't try and earn their own approval. They approve of themselves anyway, however well or badly they do. They think and speak positively of themselves. They encourage themselves by thinking, you're great, you can do it. They celebrate every tiny thing they do well. And that's what builds up into the big successes that they achieve later. But I hear you say, I can't think that way about myself because it's not true. Well, guess what? It's not true for anyone. It's all just opinion. And this is how it works. The praise and acknowledgement comes first, unconditionally. And that's why successful people do well. That's why nice people are so nice. They are that way because they think well of themselves and they speak well of themselves. And they have a healthy self-respect. So all you do is turn that statement round. Instead of saying success leads to praise, the praise leads to success. The praise comes first. The success follows. So now look, it's only a habit that these people have got into. That's all it is. They make mistakes just like you and me. They mess up. The only difference is that they don't beat themselves up so much for those mistakes. They don't berate themselves for it again and again. They just learn what they can, then they let it go and they move on. And it's the same with you. How you speak to yourself is just a habit that you've built up over time. And guess what? Habits can be changed. So how to do this? Praise yourself now for everything you do. Feel pleased with yourself when you get out of bed, when you eat a healthy snack. Reward yourself every time you walk somewhere instead of driving or taking the bus. Just quietly pat yourself on the back if you go out when you feel like staying in. And don't ever criticize yourself for the times that you do stay in, or the times when you eat chocolate or eat biscuits or get up late or forget to take some exercise or lose your temper or miss a deadline or make a mistake. Just refuse to criticize yourself for anything. And little by little, as you build up a new habit, a habit of speaking kindly to yourself, a habit of encouraging yourself for the small things that you accomplish, this will then enable you to accomplish bigger and better things gradually. And by doing that, you'll be more successful, popular, and happy. If you wait till you achieve great things before you feel good about yourself, you'll be waiting a long, long time. Praise yourself now, and you will achieve dramatic results. You will become one of those people that you admire. You will become someone that others respect and listen to. Lesson 3. Something that you can do to reduce your anxiety that is so simple and fundamental that you've been overlooking it, and you may not even have thought about it. So let me start by telling you about my friend Kate. She got very anxious in certain work situations. She would be faced with a difficult task. She would have the thought, I can't do this. And that was it. Overwhelm, panic, and full-blown anxiety. So, as we saw in the first lesson, even though our anxiety may appear to be caused by events or circumstances in our lives, it's actually already inside us, yes? It's not caused by outside events. We just have a reaction to those events that we have practiced so many times. It has become habitual or automatic for our brains to just feel anxious. Well, every emotion is like that, within us already, not outside. And it's brought on by a set of habitual behaviours that we do in response to outside situations. And we're completely unconscious of this. So there's an identifiable system whereby we create our emotions. Every emotion comes from 3 simple things that you do. And if you do them, you can control them. Tony Robbins calls this the Triad. And if you can learn to control those 3 things, then you can change how you feel at any time. And once we can learn to use that system, we can replicate almost any emotion we want and therefore take it on or feel it ourselves. Is that something you'd like to do? And what are those 3 things? The first is your physiology or your body. Emotion comes from motion, the way you're moving, and especially the way you breathe. Second is what you focus on, and third is the language you're using, what you're saying or thinking. Change any one of these things and you will change how you feel. Change all 3 and you will completely change how you feel. This lesson is about what you do with your body and particularly your breath. And absolutely key to your physiology is how you breathe. Astonishingly, your breath is actually one of the biggest things that affects our worry or anxiety levels. Breathing is essential and it's something we've all had more practice at than anything else. And yet most of us breathe incorrectly, especially when we're sitting slumped at desks all day long. Incorrect breathing can cause anxiety, stress, and even depression. When you're upset, anxious, or stressed, or spend too much time sitting in one position, this interferes with the natural motion of the lungs, chest, and shoulders. So you're already starting to breathe shallowly. It can then accelerate a bit like this. A momentary stress causes the body to tense a little, and you begin to breathe a little more shallowly. A shallow breath lowers the oxygen levels in the blood, which the brain interprets as stress. The brain then gets ready for an emergency, so breathing then becomes a little faster and even more shallow. Oxygen levels fall a little more, the heart begins to race, the brain feels a little more stress, and so on and so on. It's a downward spiral, or as we call it, a vicious circle. The odds are that if you worry or have problems with anxiety, your breathing needs some attention. Breathing properly literally makes you feel calmer. A gently rising and falling breath stimulates the parts of the brain and nervous system responsible for creating a sense of calm tranquility. Soothing hormones flow through the body, calming negative thoughts. You begin to relax and breathe even more slowly and deeply. Thus it becomes an upward spiral of calmness. Ridiculously simple though it may seem, controlled breathing literally brings some astonishing long-term results. Long-term benefits, that is. Just 5 minutes a day, literally only 5 minutes, is scientifically proven to calm worry, reduce blood pressure, improve the rhythm of the heart, reduce certain epileptic seizures, sharpen mental performance, making you more effective in every area of your life, improve blood circulation. It helped people's heart to heal after a heart attack, and it reduces panic attacks within a very short period of time. What an amazingly powerful tool breathing is. The power of breathing is because of the way that your breath reflects and amplifies your emotions. Breathing is also the cornerstone of mindfulness, which has been clinically proven to beat depression and enhance happiness, clarity of thought, and even decision-making and creativity. When we were babies, we all breathed perfectly. It's a natural instinct for us. If you look at a baby, they will most likely need no instructions on how to breathe in a slow, even, regular way, or in how to relax. Their little tummies rise and fall with each breath perfectly naturally. You can see for yourself how you breathe. You can do it either lying down or sitting up. So put one hand on your stomach and one hand on your chest. And then just notice the movements of the hands as you breathe. If you're breathing correctly, the hand on your stomach comes out or rises as you inhale, and then goes in or lowers as you exhale. The hand on your chest should move much less. This is what's called abdominal breathing. Now, I know you have a hectic life. There are a million things that need to be done. In today's hectic lifestyle, we are busier than we've ever been. That's the beauty of learning to breathe. It literally takes 5 minutes a day. So just do a bit of abdominal breathing through the lower part of your lungs every day for 5 minutes. And while you're doing it, focus your attention on the in-breath and the out-breath, how your hands are moving, and notice any other feelings in your body. Abdominal breathing will gradually become a new habit that decreases your stress. The other reason why breathing is so effective is that breathing enables you to relax, which, if you're anxious, you may not find easy to do. Your ability to relax affects your energy levels during the day, how tired you get, and also the quality of your sleep. So, learning to breathe will also just increase your overall well-being. You'll just feel better generally. And who wouldn't want that? So, I promised you earlier that I would teach you 3 things, and that's what I've done. So first, I taught you how anxiety seems to be caused by outside events, but actually comes from inside, the brain's response, and also how to calm this response. Then I showed you how to stop running yourself down and instead start to discover what you're really capable of. And finally, I showed you how to correct one of the most common but hidden and overlooked contributors to anxiety. So, how did I do? Did I do okay? I really hope you think I did. I'm confident that if you switch off this webinar right now, these things that you've learned today will serve you for the rest of your life. But I hope you don't switch off, because now here's the real opportunity I see for you. You can achieve lasting peace of mind. You'll be able to take control of your well-being, be able to move forward in life without fear or anxiety holding you back, being confident without doubting yourself, and loving your life. The good news is, it's not about whether you have the actual ability to do it right now. It's literally about taking one step, just one, with plenty of help and guidance, and then you can learn the rest as you go. And what you need to win is just 3 things to win this. You need the right tools, you need the right methodology, and you need the right help. So, what now? Well, it's really simple. You have 2 choices. You can just click this away and forget everything I've just been talking about, although that does mean that you go back to your old results. So if you want something different and to change your life in this area, then here's how I can help. And here's the free gift worth £120 that I promised you at the beginning of this class. Would you like me to give you a plan to achieve a life of vibrant happiness and well-being? I'm happy to help you develop a plan to overcome anxiety and self-doubt and find lasting peace of mind. And this way, you'll be able to really enjoy your life without wasting your time worrying or fearing the future. I offer this service because I'm a coach specializing in helping busy people overcome stress and anxiety and go on to achieve confidence, peace of mind, and fulfillment in life. And there's a pretty good chance that you have a challenge in overthinking things, beating yourself up, and doubting yourself and your ability. So if you find that my way of solving this is valuable, you might want to become a client. And if this is the case, then my rates start at £520 a month. But let me make something very clear. Please understand that I am not offering you a sales pitch in disguise. I promise, in fact, not to pressure you or pester you in any way at all. In fact, time is the most precious commodity of all. So if you feel I've wasted your time in any way, then I'll immediately send you £50 and a copy of my book, The Ultimate Guide to Stress and Anxiety, to compensate you. And we part as friends. I have set aside some time in the next 48 hours to speak to just 15 people about how you can apply these ideas to your life starting today. Whatever your biggest problem is, I know how to solve it. So, on our 45-minute call, I will help you in 3 ways. Firstly, I will talk to you about your biggest challenge right now. Secondly, I will help you solve it. And thirdly, I will set out a step-by-step plan as to how you can reach your end goal without fear, doubt, and worry getting in the way. So, who is this for? Well, if you live a busy life and want to be able to enjoy it free from worry and stress, if you are willing, with support, to take control of your well-being and your life, if you're willing to be open-minded in your outlook, and if you're committed to achieving results for yourself. So if you can say yes to all of this, then I'm happy to help you for free during a 45-minute breakthrough call. And if this sounds like you, then here's what to do next. Schedule a call with me by simply clicking the link that you now see. Then afterwards you'll see a form with a few questions about you and what you're looking to accomplish. Once I have that information, I can put a few things together that I know will help you take back control over your well-being, reclaim your peace of mind, and be free to really enjoy life. So click the button that you now see. There's a 48-hour window, but only for 15 people. On a 45-minute call, I'll help you in 3 ways. I'll talk to you about your biggest challenge right now, I'll help you solve it, and I will set out a step-by-step plan as to how you can reach your end goal without